the stand. Now he runs. He produces a magic print. He pulls out another one. This is incredible. This is ridiculous. This is 15 out of 10 on the incredible meter. What a player. What an entertainer. Give him the medal. Give him the Delier medal.
Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast. We're here for our Saturday games of Magic Round, round 11 of the NRL season, here to preview all the games that take place today. Let it be known, I believe next week we are going to start putting all of these previews into one video. Hopefully we can extend that out to about 20 minutes, but we don't want to take too long with these anymore, and that's because as of next week, we're going to be having some content heading up on the Instagram page, which does a lot of the stuff that we normally discuss in these videos, that being the bets, the tips, etc. So we'll get these ones done, and next week we'll still have these podcasts. We'll wrap them all into the one, and we'll get them uploaded on like the Thursday normally before the games start, which means we may not have some content going up over the weekends, but I'm going to try and work to see if I can find something to fill in those gaps. But for now, let's get into things, starting with the first Saturday game, the early Saturday game, the Gold Coast Titans taking on the Newcastle Knights. This one is the 3 p.m. game. Titans down in 16th on the table, second last, as we know. Knights, they're in 10th, travelling a little bit better off the back of 3 wins in a row, I believe it is, but still not their best season, but they're doing really, really well in Ponga's absence, which a lot of people didn't think that they would be able to do. David Armstrong, their young fullback, has been filling in very admirably. For the Titans, in terms of their team list changes, there's a lot to note here. So last week, Keanu Kearney did play fullback despite not being named there originally. He is named there again this week. The big news is coming out of the halves, with Chris Randall named at 5'8" and Sam Verrills named at halfback, 2 hookers in their halves to replace Kieran Foran, who was out with an injury. He's only expected to be out for 1 or 2 weeks, but still not into this game. And the other big one is, of course, AJ Brimson. Their leader is out for, I believe it's 5 to 6 or around about that. So that's very gutting there. So it's Chris Randall and Sam Verrills, the men to fill in there. Beyond that, Aaron Clark has been promoted to hooker. So despite being primarily a middle forward this season, he is now their third choice hooker, and he's starting at hooker with the other 2 in the halves. And Keenan Paliasia and Joe Stimson join the bench for their team. I believe those are the only changes. Important to note, Tom Weaver is listed at 18th man in this one. I'd assume he comes into the side before the game starts. I think they need at least one out-and-out half there. Tom Weaver has been a gun in the lower grades. I haven't been too impressed with him at NRL level, but it does take a little while to develop as a halfback, and I think having him who knows the game and knows the structures will just be a bit better than having, you know, two hookers in the halves. The other man in their reserves, by the way, Tony Francis, I expect him to get cut or maybe move to 18th man if Tom Weaver does get promoted to the side. We highlighted him in the preseason. Very powerful winger, very much in the mould of Greg Marju. I'd love to see him get a run in this game because he'd be up against Greg Marju, and I don't know if you'd put him on the same side, but it'd be a really entertaining battle. Really liked his work from the preseason. Not sure he gets a shot today, but when he does get his debut, Tony Francis, I'm really excited to see how he goes. For the Knights, however, the only changes for them are that Jack Cogger has come into 5'8" for the injured Tyson Gamble. I believe there was a foot injury, maybe a broken foot for Tyson Gamble. Looks like he'll be out for about 10 weeks. The other one is that Daniel Saifiti is out with a suspension, I believe, but he's offsetted by Jacob Saifiti returning straight back into that front row. So there's a straight swap there. There has been a bit of doubt about Tyson Frizzell and Bradman Best heading into this one. Both have been named, though. I'd assume maybe if Frizzell is injured, he might just be in a little bit limited duties. And, you know, you've got Kai Pearce-Paul on their bench, so it's quite easy to give him some minutes in his replacement. But we'll have to see how that one all goes. Their reserves at the moment, Matt Croker, 18th man, and Jed Cartwright, 19th man. So those are how the teams lined up. Now, had the Titans not suffered as many injuries as they did last week, I was going to pick them heading into this one. I just really liked how they've been playing. I think they've been progressing well. I know the Knights are off the back of 3 back-to-back-to-back wins. which have been really good and impressive by any standard. Doesn't matter how you get wins if you're getting them under the circumstances that they're under. But I have thought that the Titans have been playing a bit more of a complete brand of footy, and I thought that, it's a bit more closer to home in Suncorp here. They'd get a good little look in, but I just can't go near them with the halves pairing that they have, unfortunately. So I have tipped the Newcastle Knights in this one. I think they get it done. I don't want to say easily, but it could be a game where they go out and try and stamp their authority. I know three wins without Kalumponga is already a bit of authority, but they haven't had that massive win that just big, we're here to play and we will still make finals like they did last year. This could be it. Important to note, he's been cut from the reserves, obviously, but Fletcher Sharp, he was named in the reserves for the first time we've seen this season. So the young gun fullback, obviously nowhere near playing in this game, hence why he's been cut. But really cool to see his name back. He's been dealing with a bit of an injury. I'm not sure if/when he'll get a debut this season, especially with David Armstrong, the way he's playing at fullback. But I can't wait to see Fletcher Sharp back in action for the Knights. But those are the teamless changes. As I said, we have tipped the Knights. I just think, the halves of the Titans, it's going to be too much of a mountain to climb for them. I think the forwards match up decently. Both have sort of been inconsistent, if you will. There's been games where the Saifiti twins are guns. There's been games that they're not. There's been games recently that Fodawaker has been a gun. There's been a lot of games where he hasn't been. So it's all kind of up in the air about their forwards. It could come down to whichever forward pack comes here to play, but I just think even if the forwards lay a really good platform for the Titans, I don't have faith that Chris Randall and Sam Verrills can get them around the park. Even if Tom Weaver comes in, I think that makes a big difference. I think I'll still trust in the Knights, who have experienced halves in Jackson Hastings and Jack Cogger. So as we do now, we're not going to go through the tips. We're not going to go through the bets anymore, because we will be teasing that a bit more in the Instagram side of things. But one thing that I will say is Greg Marju, I think in this game, I'm not sure what his odds are, probably relatively low. I'm all for him to cross against the Titans in this game. I'd be loading up on that if you were a betting man. However, we will move into the second Saturday game. This one is the blockbuster of Magic Round. The Cronulla Sharks taking on the Sydney Roosters. Sharks, as we know, they're first on the ladder right now, flying very, very high. Roosters are actually in 7th, despite their really good form. Apparently, they dropped a few games too many early. They've had a tough run, the Roosters, and it gets even tougher here up against the Sharks. But I'm really excited for this game. Let's go through the team list for these two sides. For the Sharkies, Nico Hines, of course, the big one, has been named. He was a late withdrawal last week. As we all know, he has been named, and by all accounts, he's passed up really well, and he will be taking his place on the field in this game. Beyond that, for the Sharkies, not too much. Tuku Hautapua has kept his spot on the bench, and it's Braden Hamlin-Uele who has been dropped. I'm not sure if there's an injury or anything there. But yeah, very interesting to see that. But besides that, relatively same side that lined up against the Storm last week. For the Roosters, however, few changes here is that Joseph Manu is out of the side with the concussion he suffered late against the Warriors last week, which means Junior Ponga comes into the centres, which is awesome. Such a huge fan of Ponga. I love seeing him. Every time I get to see him play in the NRL level, he just kills it. Massive fan of him. I'm hearing rumours that Suoli'i might be out of this game, but I haven't seen anything definite on that. He's still named at centre, so we'll just take that with a grain of salt now. I assume if it's come to this point, he's probably going to play. The rest of their team, stock standard. Brandon Smith, I can't remember if he played last week. I want to say no. He has been named at hooker this week, so assumedly he will be playing. Connor Watson onto the bench, and Sandon Smith, who played last week, is out. Their 18th man is Zach Docker-Clay as well. So that is how these two behemoths line up. In terms of the tips, I think I went the Sharkies, or maybe I went the Roosters. I think I tipped the Roosters simply because I need to make up a bit of ground in my footy tipping competition. Everybody else has gone the Sharks. I'm like, oh, bugger it, I'll go the Roosters. I'm not confident in it in any way. If I was tipping without trying to make ground, I'd probably take the Sharks. But it's a really close game. It's one that I'm not sure of no matter what. I know it's going to be a fantastic game to watch, especially under the bright lights of Magic Round. So, as an NRL fan, I'm just here to watch it, and I don't mind who wins or loses. But I'd kind of like the Roosters to win just because I've tipped them, and I need to make up a bit of ground in the footy tipping competition. Also, I'd like to put a disclaimer out there. Apparently, I have been proved incorrect. I am not the back-to-back defending champ of the tipping competition. I won the last 2 seasons, then I lost the one before that, and then I won the 2 before that. So out of the last 5 seasons, I've won 4. So my bad, bit of discretion there, but in the end, it's actually a better result for me. But yeah, so let's back the Roosters in on this one. Not sure who gets it done, really. I love the way the Sharks have been playing. I love what Craig Fitzgibbon did last week and just said, you know what, we're going up against the Storm. Let's leave Atkinson out there with no other halves and let's just defend. The fact you're having Blake Brayley as your halfback, like defending at halfback, so a bit further out wide, and Cameron McInnes in the middle as he always does. It's just, I love how they do it. They've got a battle on their hands this week, though. I think the Storm, their forward pack is good, but I think the Roosters forward pack is monstrous, especially with Angus Crichton in the form he's in. There's one thing to be able to shut down Eli Katoa and Sean Bloor, who are fantastic players in their own right. But Angus Crichton, in the form he's in, they've got a lot of work on their hands to stop that. So I'm really excited to see how they tackle that challenge. But yeah, we're in for a great game, this one. Beyond that, though, we will move into the final game of our Saturday, which is the South Sydney Rabbitohs taking on the North Queensland Cowboys. Rabbitohs, they're in 17th at the moment, as we know, bottom of the table. Tough old year for them. Cowboys, they've been floundering a bit. They're down into 12th, which is quite sad. Of course, in terms of the team list changes, Rabbitohs have got a few new ones. Alex Johnston is back, which I think is going to provide a good bit of experience on their wing. I know he's not necessarily a game-breaking winger, Alex Johnston. A lot of his tries are scored off the back of set plays. But I think watch Johnston. He's a lot better in defence than people give him credit for. I think he will be looking to do a lot more work than he normally does in this team. He's just going to put his hand up. He bleeds the colours of the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and he's going to try and be a bit of a game breaker for them. I just think he's going to be a really good addition for them heading into Magic Round. Beyond that, that moves Isaac Tuitupo Thompson into the centres, and Jacob Gagai comes onto the wing as well. So that means who made way? Jimmy Shibasaki is out, and Michael Cheekham, who played in the centres, is also out of the team. So it's a much stronger backline for the Rabbitohs. I mean, Latrell Mitchell at your fullback, Johnston and Whiten, and realistically Gagai was also their first choice winger for round 1. You've almost got a first choice backline there. Cody Walker still at 5'8". They do still have young Dion, I always pronounce his name wrong, Topau, my apologies, at halfback. So hopefully he can lead the team a bit, but I think a lot will be on Cody Walker's hands. Forward pack, relatively the same, and the bench is all the same as well, except for Tane Milne returning from suspension to snag jersey 17, and Matt French, debutant of last week, dropping to 19th man, but that's still technically their 18th man in this game. For the Cowboys, Braden Burns, the club debutant, the Rabbitohs legend, let's be real, he bleeds the Rabbitohs colours. He's made the switch over to the Cowboys, and he's come onto the wing in jersey 21 for Kyle Felt, who was out. I believe it's just out of this game, Kyle Felt, but he is definitely a late withdrawal, and Braden Burns at jersey 21 will make his way onto the wing for his club debut. Beyond that, Jordan McLean returns from his little niggle, and he lines up at number 8, front row forward. Hylam Lukey started last week, but he has been named to start this week with Kulikefu Finifuiaki off the bench. So their bench is Sam McIntyre, Thomas McKaylee, Kulikefu Finifuiaki, and Jason Taumalolo. Their reserves, Harrison Edwards and Jake Clifford. So the Cowboys, it's a stronger team than they had last week when they went down to the Titans, but not too different, just a little bit stronger. Oh, you could argue it's maybe not with Braden Burns coming in for Felt, but in the key areas, I think it's almost a full-strength side. There's, players missing here and there, but the core of their squad has remained the same. This is an interesting one because of how poorly the Cowboys have been going. If this is a must-win game for them, I think last week was a must-win game as well. But this one is not only a must-win game, I think it has to be a statement game. They have to come and put a score on here. If not, I think their finals are dead and buried. I know that's hard to say, but Look, they can't be losing the games they have been, and this is against the Rabbitohs. I think the Rabbitohs do get up for it. I know Magic Round, etc. Latrell, Jack White, and Cody Walker, these players are going to want to play their best, and I think they're going to be trying that regardless. But I think the Cowboys do get this one done, and I do think that they can get a big win here. I apologise to Rabbitohs fans, but I think at this point you don't have too much hope or belief in your team for this season anyway. But I think the Cowboys do get the win here. I'm expecting a high-scoring affair, even if it's a close affair in terms of where the points are. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored to both teams. Neither of these teams have been defending well at all this season. So Cowboys, they are my tip to win it. I just think everything that we've seen across the Rabbitohs year, even the Cowboys at the worst, I think beat the Rabbitohs, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's where I'm leaning with that one. And that one will wrap us up for all of the Saturday games. So we'll be back again tomorrow, bright and early for the Sunday games. Of course, getting 3 games on a Sunday for Magic Round. Headlined by the Warriors tomorrow, which is exciting. Not really exciting. I think we get smashed. I'm going to cry. But, hey, got to watch those Warriors games. This is how it's felt being a fan for the last decade, and now we're back to being booty cheeks, so what can you do, really? But as we said, guys, next week, these will be all put into the one podcast, just the game preview, the round preview, bang, one podcast, 20, 25 minutes. We'll see how long that one takes, maybe a little bit longer. But yeah, that's just how it's all going to be. Bets and tips and etc. will be coming up on the Instagram over the next week as well, and they will be heading over for the rest of the season. We'll be keeping that as a trend. Working on a lot more trends. We've been putting it out to you guys on the Instagram. So what content you guys want to see, and you guys all responded, and I'm really thankful for that. We'll be working on a lot of that. Time is quite of the essence on my hands. I don't have too much of it at my display, but I stay up on these late nights and try and get some stuff done for you guys. So hopefully we'll get some more content in the works for you as well. But that one will wrap us up for now. So thank you guys for tuning into this one, and I'll see you guys next time.